Not on that camera. Okay. I'm at Gatsby Books in Long Beach with Daryl Brown, son of Soul Brother #1, James, one of his many appellations. Daryl Brown,
The Godfather.
very happy to see you. Yeah, for purposes of your book, The Godfather. You told me, you told another interviewer that you were at King Records in Cincinnati.
Yeah, first time.
One time. Describe it a little bit,
fact,
would you please?
That was
What year?
1970.
Describe it. What do you remember about it?
This is the first time I've ever been to the studio, and back then we used to use a thing called acetates for promos,
Right.
for demos,
Right.
and the whole pressers and everything, the way they press the records and everything like that, and I think we were doing escapism. That was the song that was that.
They did everything in-house, didn't they?
Everything.
From microphone to
everything.
loading dock.
And it was kind of like, to me, it was brand new, but actually it was a little kind of ancient to compare to these studios that we have. Not at that time, they were a little behind, but they did everything, in-house pressing, everything.
How many people work there?
Oh God, we was in the studio at night, so I only seen 2 people, and that was Syd Nathan and his assistant.
Okay, now Syd Nathan, how'd he strike you? Because he'd been around for decades when you met him. He'd been doing this for quite some time.
Syd was Mr. Nathan.
Mr. Nathan, okay.
To me, was a little grumpy old man. You know what I'm saying? But he was nice, but he was just a little grumpy old man. And by that time, he had established, because in the earlier years, everything my father did, he was like totally against it. So I'm wondering, how did you get this contract? This guy here, every time you try to do something, James, I don't want to do that, James. That's not how it's done, James. That's how he used to talk. Right?
Real high-pitched voice?
Yeah. No, James, this is not, how can you say please, please? All you're doing is saying please, please, please 100 times. It never sells,
That's the whole idea.
Yeah. But that's where I remember him.
Was he wearing a suit? Or like a
No, he just had, what he had on was a white shirt, some pants, and shoes.
Okay,
So,
okay.
like I said, we were there at nighttime, and they would open up their studio anytime my father wanted, once he was in.
It's amazing that Syd Nathan didn't want him on the label, but he kept the label going decades long after.
And then you had Little Willie John, you had
Hank Ballard.
Hank Ballard. He had some terrific guys on there.
Let me ask you a question about Hank Ballard. I knew Hank Ballard. Mm-hmm. He lived in Long Beach, and he lived in a town, like one town over for, the last years of his life.
Yeah.
And he told me that when your father's picture was taken with Nixon, that was part of Nixon and J. Edgar Hoover wanted to shut down his operation. They thought your father was becoming too powerful. And that Hank Ballard says, this is Hank Ballard talking, he says that weakened his position in the black community, being photographed with Nixon.
What happened?
And that was their idea of setting him up to be taken down.
That was one of them. Okay. We really had his problems was in Boston. Okay. And it's funny because he came to calm things. He came there, it was his suggestion that, okay, instead of people coming, because he was supposed to play there, instead of people coming there and seeing me, let's put it on television to keep the people home.
Right.
Okay, that was his idea.
Free access to the concert.
There was a article that came out, and it's in the book. I put it in there. I want to say Time Life, but it wasn't that. But there was an article that came out in 1969. It's calling him the most influential black man in America. Now, you would think that, we have James Brown, he calmed, because he went a lot of other places to calm riots too, that you don't even know about. Like Washington, he went down to Mobile, Alabama. I mean, he went a lot of places to calm things down. But you know what they said? They said, if he can stop a riot, he surely can stop one. So his problem began in Boston. Okay? And then the Nixon thing came along later, you see. But his problem began in Boston. And this article that came out in a magazine, and that way he became suspect number 1. And that's weird, to me.
Well, you know, Nixon has historically, it's been proven that he liked to set people up and take people out.
Yeah,
that
well, see,
he
I don't know
considered
much
them.
about Nixon
Yeah,
myself,
okay.
you know, but I one thing I do know is that my father knew how to play the two, play the two parties and different things the way he was doing, and see, at the time that he went with Nixon was because Nixon was so-called for the affirmative action thing. You know, as much money he claims he gave to black colleges and different things. That's the reason why he went with Nixon. But my father would go with anybody that would help his people. That's just the way he was. So.
Okay, thanks, Sir.